like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, March 26th, 2024 at 5:30 PM. Janelle, could you please take roll call?
Bertle,
Here.
Bell,
Here.
Shampoo,
Here.
Here.
Art,
Here.
and Gretzmacher.
Marge, are you muted now?
Yeah, I think she is. Now you're muted, Marge. And volume down.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Nope, she didn't. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Kane. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve February 27th, 2024 minutes as presented? I think I had one comment.
I'll make that motion.
Page 8. Line 47, I would like the sentence, or if that is not possible in as timely a fashion as possible, to be stricken. Motion by Bell,
Second.
by Gretzmacher. All in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have to scroll back up. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. Is there anybody joining us on Zoom or in person that would like to address the Plan Commission? Not see anybody,
Nope.
Janelle?
We did have 3 letters. One was from Vivian Nino, regarding the draft letter, talking about assessments. I believe everybody has seen that and we've, that letter has been revised. So we can talk about that later when we get to that. We had one from Chad Stanko, regarding the staff report where we talk about, thoughts on AB2 overlay, which we can talk about when we get to that. And then we had one from Fred Lane, regarding the, Peach Barn food truck application, which we can read when we get to that public hearing.
Okay. Item number 6, public hearing on ordinance number 2024-013, annexation of the 40 acres in Liberty Grove. At 5:33, I'm going to open the public hearing. Julie?
Okay, so this was referred to us from the board, to hold a public hearing on the annexation of 40.92 acres at the corner of ZZ and Woodcrest Road.
So is there anybody joining us that would like to speak for or against?
Could you repeat that, please?
So this is regarding an annexation of 40 acres at the southeast intersection of Woodcrest and County Highway ZZ.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at 5:34, I'll close the public hearing. Any Plan Commission discussion? Then recommendation to the village board that we adopt ordinance number 2024-013 as presented.
Move.
Motion by Kane,
Second.
second by Bell. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
You also want the interim zoning classification to be I1.
That's what was in the,
Okay.
yeah. Agenda item 6B, ordinance number 2024-014, chapter 65, floodplain zoning ordinance. I'll open the public hearing at 5:35. Julie?
Okay, so this is one we've talked about for a couple months. The state and feds have come up with new floodplain maps for us. They go into effect on May 8th, so this is a floodplain zoning ordinance, which would also become effective on that date. Basically what you do is you regulate, elevation of lowest floor levels, ground, utilities, et cetera, to make sure that they're not flooded in the event of a 100-year flood.
So do we have anyone joining us that would like to comment on the floodplain ordinance?
Rob,
Oh, there's.
Andy,
Mr. Tibet, did you want to comment or were you just talking?
Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 5:36. Plan commission discussion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend ordinance 2024-014, chapter 65, floodplain zoning ordinance to the village board.
Motion by Bell,
Second that?
second by Shampoo. All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm scrolling. I think that brings us to page 60. Agenda item 6C, conditional use permit application and development agreement, 1 unit mobile food vendor court, Peach Barn, 2450 South Bay Shore Drive. I'll open the public hearing at 5:36. Julie?
Right, so this is conditional use permit to have a 1-unit, mobile food truck next to June's, which is the new, deli at the Peach Barn. They do comply with all the parking requirements, setbacks, et cetera. When we had a preliminary meeting on it, we did have some questions for them, and they did answer those questions, which is in the staff report. Specifically, hours of operation are 10 to 8 when the brewery is open. We asked them about a lighting plan, because originally they thought they'd want string lights out there, and they said they're not gonna have any at this time. We also asked if there would be 1 bike rack or 2. They do propose 2 bike racks. And we did want to see another tree planted by the bike rack, which they have agreed to do, and that's on their revised landscaping plan. Other than that, everything is in front of you in the packet. If we are inclined to recommend to the board approval of the conditional use permit, I have included a development agreement in here as well that we could recommend to the board if we're inclined to approve it. And then, like I said, we do have the letter that we received, which I'll read at this point. It is from Fred Lang of Jerry's Flowers. In regards to the conditional use permit for the mobile food truck, I've been under the assumption that the village did not want to allow any food trucks in our village. I know that many other folks have tried real hard to receive a permit and have been denied. To allow one at the Peach Barn would set a precedent, and more will surely request a permit. They have already had a food truck in operation there on several occasions. Also, parking has been an ongoing problem, even though they added more parking in the front yard. Patrons repeatedly use the neighbor's property, and I believe having a bar and perhaps a brewery is enough, and a food truck could only add to the problem. It will certainly hurt other restaurants in the area. I would hope that the planning commission will consider all of this and move before, and more before issuing the permit. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there anybody joining us that would like to speak to this conditional use permit?
I'll make some comments. Mitch, sorry, that wasn't up here.
Yes, ma'am. Can you state your address, please?
10520 South Island Road.
Thank you.
My first concern about this, and I'm not against food trucks, but my first concern on the property is they need to complete their deli first and foremost, because it hasn't been open. It doesn't look like it's gonna be open. I don't think the village has inspected it. I'm not sure the landscaping has been done for that, and I think you should do one project at a time on this property. I think they're trying to put a food truck in, so they don't have to open the deli unnecessarily, and whether it's right or wrong, that's up to you guys, but, putting the food truck on the east end or the west end of the deli only allows them to have food there. They've already violated it at least 2 weekends in January, having an open road permit. The food truck was parked in front of their business for over 30 days, another violation. If if you put a food truck on there, somebody's gonna have to enforce whatever the development agreement is. And I don't see that happening. And if I drive by there, I don't wanna see a food truck that's not operating, just sitting there being a food truck graveyard in that front parking lot or even next to their house, because I can see it, or their business, I should say, because they haven't done any landscaping, the pine trees or arborvitae's or anything that was part of June's. So I think they should complete one before they do two.
Thank you, Mitch. Would anybody else like to comment? Okay, at 5:41, I will close the public hearing. On page 62, which is the site plan. They showed a proposed picket fence. What was that on their plan from when we approved June's, or is that something new? I couldn't remember.
Where are you seeing that, Denise? Because that might be on their old plan. They had one quite a while ago.
Or wait. Yeah, okay. And while Julie is doing that, I think Mitch brings up a good point that we did approve June's Deli a while ago, and I know that people are working and doing things. I think he has a good point.
I think he has a good point as well, and my question is, why are they putting a food truck next to their cafe?
Well, we asked him that question last month, and I believe Sarah spoke to that it's more for the patrons of the brewery,
But they have,
but they're gonna be having, the
Cafe.
deli is very different than the food truck in the
but
offerings.
are they going to be operating this food truck? Or are they having friends operate this food truck and having like a business within their business operate? That's my concern. And I personally don't like the look of a food truck right out in front next to the building. And I know we changed that last summer. But I still, if they had to have that food truck, I would prefer it be around the back. So if it's going to service the Peach Barn, it's closer to the Peach Barn, in the back, whatever. I think driving along there and looking at a cafe with a food truck next to it is just. I don't know, I don't like what the village is starting to look like. It's almost like. Here's a spot to drink, here's a spot to eat, here's a spot to drink. And it's all about drinking and eating at what expense? Because sooner or later, this whole fad is gonna slow down. And then we're gonna have all of these things that don't necessarily work for our village, or maybe it will. Maybe everybody's gonna move out. We're gonna have just a bunch of restaurants, bars and food trucks. I don't know. I don't care for this, the way it's out in front.
Okay.
She said,
Sarah, or Marge, go ahead.
she said that friends were going to operate the food truck. So she made that clear that it was going to be run by other individuals.
I just want to answer the question about the picket fence that was on the site.
Hi there.
plan for
I think
June.
something was delivered. Would it be delivered here? I don't think it was food. I think it was like a bag with toys.
We can hear you. Can you please mute yourself?
Now, can you mute her?
I am, I think that was.
Anyways, the site plan was on the June's, or I'm sorry.
Gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen,
Jesus.
okay, listen up. First of all, on behalf of the club and the Big Ten Tournament League, I want to thank all you guys for playing. You guys are the guys that make this tournament. So give yourself a
You know,
What?
Okay,
What's that about?
everyone that is zooming in, please mute yourself.
because those guys are the guys that make this thing really come along.
Who's ever talking about the tournament?
Raise your hand. All right.
Got it, Janelle? Yep. Are Sarah and Jason with us?
I don't see them. Unless they're on the phone. Sarah, if you're logged onto the meeting, could you please like raise your hand or something?
Or just speak up?
If everybody's muted.
Well, you can unmute if you're gonna speak. Okay, they are not here for their public hearing. Other comments from the plan commission?
So I understand Mitch's point about starting something before you have the other project completed, and I think that it would be fair to say they have to have landscaping open before they were to open this food truck. There's also only so many reasons why we can say no to something. Because we don't like the aesthetic, I'm not sure that falls under there, I'd defer to Julie on that.
No, based on the state law that came out a number of years ago, you can't turn it down just for personal opinion or preference. It has to be like health and safety or something to that effect. You can put conditions on to try and mitigate concerns, but you can't just turn it down based on personal preference.
So I can understand the point on wanting the landscaping done, because this is gonna look. That was a requirement we had for June's. As far as getting June's completed, I know that has got to do with getting contractors. And as somebody who's got working on a couple active projects for my work, it is challenging. And things do take longer than one. I don't think that's because they don't want to, but unfortunately, they're not here tonight to speak to that, so we can only guess. Yeah, that's my inclination is if we require the landscaping to be complete before it's open, that would make sense to me, and I would agree with that.
And that is something, Julie, that, I agree, we should make that a condition of this permit. Whether or not they open the deli or not. Whatever. And you would just verify that.
Yes, okay, so it would be the landscaping for June's would be completed prior to placing the food truck on the property, correct?
Correct.
Or would it be landscaping for June's and for the food truck be completed?
I would say any active project have its landscaping completed, so I would think that would be June's and the food truck.
I mean, because I think the only new thing that we added for the food truck was the planting of that one tree.
I think so.
Yeah, there isn't much to complete.
Well, they do have that green space buffer.
Yeah, there's.
All of that needs to be,
And what about the asphalting of the back parking lot?
yeah, that has to be, because they got, they said that was going to be done this spring. They weren't able to do it because they couldn't get somebody there. So I would say the asphalt, all the asphalt has to be done, but they've already paved the front.
They paved the front, but
They still
Parking
didn't
lot in
pay,
the back is gravel.
but they said that they were gonna do it all at the same time.
No, they didn't.
You know. Reach out in my memory here, but I believe what happened is when that brewery was approved. There was no condition on that gravel parking lot in the back. Make it asphalt.
But all parking lots have to be
Right.
asphalt, so.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to.
Sarah, if you're on there, can you please speak just so that we don't, deny you an opportunity to speak? You could unmute yourself.
Is she on now?
I don't know if she's that person on the phone or not. Otherwise, she's not.
What's the, well, I think if she was, it's not her.
Okay, yes.
So Ron, was that, prior to placement of the food truck?
Yes.
Asphalting must be done. Is that
Because
right,
this
Ron?
is her phone number.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Okay.
All required asphalting must be done. Is that what you wanted, Ron? Ron? Did you want prior to placement of the food truck, all
Yes.
required asphalting must be done? Okay.
So I have a question. And that is, the landscaping, will that be covering up the food truck so it's not seen so much from the highway?
That we asked last month to add that one additional tree right,
Right.
to the side.
But that's,
And then there's also, I think in front of where it says picket fence and where there's some parking stalls below the bike racks, I think there's, two other trees there. It doesn't say if that they're existing, so, I mean, everything on this plan that's green, unless it says existing, would have to be planted. Because I do remember us talking about that back parking lot, and they said that it was going to all be done at the same time.
at the same time. Yep.
And I don't know if this is jumping ahead or not, but I did bring it up last month and Mitch did bring it up that they were operating that food truck without a permit to be a food court, a mobile food court, and also the storage of the food truck. And in the development agreement, it talks about that after the fact permit fees will be imposed, which is doubling of. And I don't know if we need to include that.
No, because they did come in and pay the double permit fee.
They did.
They did. I
Okay,
notified them and they paid.
okay. So I would make a recommendation to the village board that we recommend this conditional use permit with the conditions of all landscaping to be complete for the food truck and for June's, that all parking areas shall have asphalt laid on them.
You want me to read the conditions that Julie had recommended?
Sure.
Okay. Compliance with the provisions of section 66.0321 sub E sub 3 of the zoning code for the village of Sister Bay that is entitled mobile food vendor courts is required. One of those provisions is that the mobile food vendor unit must be removed from the property when not in use or when food is not served for 36 hours or more. The hours of operation of the mobile food vendor unit shall be limited to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, but it may only be operated if and when the Peach Barn is open to the public. This conditional use permit shall be reviewed by the Plan Commission on or before February 1st, 2025. And when that review is conducted, the commission members will make a formal determination as to whether or not the food vendor court can continue to be operated. And then the parking conditions and landscaping.
So, but it doesn't state in that motion that if there becomes a parking problem.
That's in here, that's number 4. It says parking issues are to be addressed as soon as a parking issue has been brought to the attention of the landowner.
Okay.
That was the 4th condition. It'd be those 4 plus these 2.
But it doesn't say that it doesn't say how it's going to be addressed. And I think it needs to come to Plan Commission. Would you not all agree?
Yes,
Yes,
So basically, any issues or violations of the parking come to the Plan Commission to be resolved.
Yes.
So then how about if you say any parking issues that arise must be addressed by the Plan Commission as soon as they have been brought to the attention of the village administrator?
Okay. Anything else anybody wants?
Can I ask you a question? Jim? Did she say 36 hours non-operative?
Yes.
Because it states in here 18 hours, this thing I was reading. That I'm willing, that would have been a problem because.
Right, we changed that because if some people are not open, when we had our public, hearing months ago, on this, it was, brought up by somebody who does own a food truck, and if they would not be open on a holiday or a Sunday, that 18 hours just wasn't long enough, and we thought it was a fair and reasonable argument, and so we changed it.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, motion by Berto,
Second.
second by Kane. All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed?
aye,
Are you opposed, Marge?
yes,
Okay. Motion carried. Okay,
And what about the development permit?
I believe the motion included conditional use permit and development.
Okay, add that to it, okay.
all right, now we go down all the way down to page 85. 7A, water safety sign at Waterfront Park, sponsored by Door County. Julie?
Okay, so, the last time we discussed this, I was instructed to see if there was anything in the code that would allow this sign. So what I found was in the architectural review section, there's a section that says the Plan Commission may modify any of the above standards. A 3/4 majority vote of the Plan Commissioners, but only if supplemental design elements or improvements are incorporated into the project which compensate for the modifications of the particular standard. I take that to mean something like if we're looking at we don't allow something that resembles a traffic light. So if they're able to put something in to mitigate that, then it's something we could look at, provided we have a 3/4 majority vote that supported it. We could modify it with a 3/4 majority vote. Ken Povick, the county administrator, is here. And I believe, Ken, do you have something to say about that, or how things could be modified to meet the report? I guess mitigate the concerns that we had. The concerns, just as a reminder, are the concern on the illumination, because it resembles a traffic light. And I believe that was the main concern.
Well, the sign, the size was all as well.
Right, but you showed us a smaller one, yeah.
Yep, and what we did is we actually worked with the vendor, so. We actually reduced the sign significantly, even from the last time we had talked. Everybody wants some copies, but I have extra copies, but,
I'll take one, Ken, for the file.
oh, sorry. So I just did a rendering, so you can see that the sign that we're proposing could go either vertical or horizontal. It depends on the application of where it would be used, so if you do like a solar installation on a pole, it could be vertical. Likewise, if there's a building that we work with other communities, it could also be placed on the building. The size before, the original sign, if you looked at one at the bottom, was a little bit over 48 inches in both directions. This new sign now has been reduced to 22 by 44. And again, you'll see that there is still the internally, not internally lit, but the lit sign for the status of the beach. And we're also working with the vendor to apply dimmable technology to the lights. So obviously during the day when it's bright, you'll need something that's a little bit more intense, but there is a way to, with the cabinet itself, to use make it dimmable as it gets not as bright. And that would be programmed into the system itself.
And you think that dimmable light would be in the model that you're installing here in Sister Bay?
Yeah, we're actually working with the vendor, so we would order the signs. We're gonna try to get that incorporated in all the new signs that we're ordering, correct?
So the site plan and architectural review that Julie read from doesn't give us, I just don't think it gives us a lot of leeway. The way I read it. So if we deem this appropriate, I'm okay moving forward with it, by 3/4 majority, for the health, safety, and welfare, of beachgoers.
Community.
But here's my other question. We have a village hall task force that is working on renovating the village hall and possibly with an addition. I don't know when that's going to come to fruition. I don't know how long it will take them to fundraise. The village has no money for several years to put towards that. But I was thinking that on the back, of that addition or something, we may be able to work it in cohesively and onto the new addition. But in the meantime, how do we get, because it's facing west, so I don't think solar is gonna work. So if we had it freestanding, because I don't know that we want to be drilling holes into the stonework of the village hall and trying to run conduit and everything else. Where are we getting the electricity from?
Well, I think that depends if you're gonna do it freestanding where it's gonna sit. It's gonna be freestanding right outside of the village hall. We would have to run conduit for it from the building.
On the back side.
On the back side.
Or the other option is I think somewhere to the left of the main path down to the beach and the gazebo.
What if you put it by the pavilion?
I think that's where there's some electrical, I think I remember.
There is.
It makes, makes more sense to put it down by the actual beach where people are swimming, to me, by the pavilion.
I agree with you, Patrice. That's the logical place. And there's electricity in the gazebo.
We're calling it a gazebo, that's the same. We're talking about, just the pavilion is representing the band shell. Is that what we're saying? And then,
Yes.
okay,
That's what I
I
mean.
just wanna make sure that.
I did say gazebo, didn't I?
Well, I just want to make sure I'm
Okay.
understanding right,
Okay.
because they're close enough, it could be a little confusing, I just want to make sure I'm
Okay.
understanding. The gazebo is the part that's by the beach dock. The pavilion is the bench.
So if we think then if we know that there is electrical there already, then we could send, if we choose to approve this with a 3/4 majority vote, we would let the Parks, Property and Streets Committee determine exactly
The location.
the location. And that's out of our purview. And if we wanted to change that in the future, can we get another one and you'll pay for it too?
Well, we're trying to, again, we're doing this year, worked out while we applied for 5 new signs under the Community Investment Fund grant program. And we're trying to get those applied this year. We've had approached, I'm escaping right now, the other granting foundation for another 5, and so that'd be another potential in the future. But even if, I guess right now, even if we would put it at that location and then, let's say a few years down the line, you do the new village hall, you would move it. I'm sure we can work with you to
Okay.
accommodate that.
Okay. Just so we know that going in. I mean, I may not still be sitting here a few years from now. You may not have your position. I don't know
Sure.
what's gonna happen.
Yep. Totally understand.
Okay. So obviously, the much smaller sign is better.
Yes.
I'm still skeptical on this because there's a little. It seems a little disingenuous to have a sign that's immediately actuated based on 24, 48-hour test results. And like, when somebody's gonna look at the sign, they're gonna think, oh, this is an immediate reading. And it's already so delayed. I mean, I get that everybody else supports this, but that just wanted to say that still doesn't sit quite right with me, but at the same point, I see Ken keeps coming up here, so I give him credit for driving all the way up to Sister Bay, and I know he's got the best of intentions.
I keep trying, I'm trying to, but you know, I still don't like it. There's no doubt about that, but I'm trying to find a happy medium and a size less than half the size than where we started from. I think is a really good step. And if we, for some reason, hate it, once Parks determined where it is, I guess, you know, we can always revisit it.
Just one quick comment. Dave, I understand your concern, and I guess one of the things that the technology is also changing with lab testing and all that stuff, so maybe 5-10 years, there might be a whole different technology we're looking at. But right now, I can say that Door County is the leader in the state in terms of beach testing throughout. I mean, I guess we were considered a model county. In fact, they had a conference here over winter. Just for beach testing, that was actually for the Midwest, and they actually modeled a lot of our work. Not only just from the science standpoint, but just the testing. We're probably one of the most progressive counties that's actually investing into the beach testing, so. I understand your concern, and I also understand the delay, but we're doing the best we can with the technology in terms of what we can do with the testing and also the lab that's required to actually get those results in. Obviously, if we can get lab equipment in every community and do that, that'd be, you know, fantastic, but both the equipment and people required to that are short supply and also costly, so I understand, but hopefully technology continues to improve and we'll get there, but we're doing the best we can right now.
What is the expected lag? I mean, like, until you do a test and it comes, like, how long, what is the, I heard it was gonna be.
It's not germinate, but it's required to sit 24 hours.
Okay.
For it to properly react with the, what do they call it, the
Culture.
But they put it in, they get it to react with the bacteria, and they need a 24-hour period for it to react.
So
And then once they do that, then they do the analysis on it to see if there's reaction, and then we go out and we deploy the results from there.
So I just wanna make sure I was accurate in saying it's 1 to 2, it's realistically 1 to 2 days.
It's a 1-day turnaround.
Okay.
So we test, they test in the morning, they get the results in the morning, if it's a negative, then we try to get that posted that same day.
Okay. But you're right, Denise, this is a tremendous improvement.
Well,
Thanks,
actually,
Ken. Thank you.
I mean, the feedback you gave us, we actually went back to the vendor side, actually, I really appreciate you working with us. I mean, we're gonna try to standardize and actually reduce some of the signs in our other areas as well, so I think this is a great process, so I truly appreciate it. I mean, we're all working on this together, so I really appreciate it.
So it's a good thing Sister Bay was a stick in the mud.
That's what I heard, it was a good dialogue, I really appreciate it, so.
Well, that's good. I will make a motion that we, approve the sign of the size of 22 by 44 as handed out by, Ken tonight, and send it back to Parks for placement.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Bell. Any further discussion?
Clarification.
Yep,
Dimmable and electric, right?
dimmable and electric. All those in favor respond with an eye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you guys,
Yay.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken. Item 7B, Development Agreement Condition Parking and Landscaping Plan 1211 Wine Bar, 10339 Highway 57.
Okay, so, at the February meeting, we reviewed the proposed parking lot that will be shared with the Historic Society and with Time. And, we requested a parking and landscape plan, which you have which you see here. It shows 25 stalls, it shows shrubs in front of it, it shows gravel parking lot. In addition, staff was instructed to see if we could post no parking signs on the highway. And the DOT said, yes, we could do that, provided we amend our ordinance, our utility parking ordinance, to say that that would be a no parking area. So that part would have to go to the Parks, Property and Streets Committee. But it is something that we could do. So. But what's missing here is what I asked for last month, which is a signed document between the Historical Society and 1211. Yep, so I talked to Carl about that. He expects to have that this week yet. They just weren't able to get it before the meeting. So then, what's your suggestion, Julie? My recommendation is you approve it per the site plan showing the landscaping and contingent on that agreement being provided. And a recommendation be made to the Parks, Property and Streets Committee to post that section of the road, no parking. And that committee will have to decide how far the no parking signs go. Okay. Discussion?
May I speak? My name is Chris Nostick. I'm a representative for Time Restaurant.
Sure.
Carl is on the board, but he can't get audio to work. And he just texted me and said that Peter Blocker was drawing up the agreement. And he's supposed to have it by the end of the week.
Okay, thank you.
Could you please spell your last name for me, Chris?
N-O-S-T, he is in Victor, I-C-K.
Okay, thank you.
Relation to Connie?
No relation.
Okay.
Nostick is Norwegian for house by the Beta.
Oh. Somebody care to? Make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Shampo. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an eye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 7C, Development Agreement Condition Mobile Food Court Building, Rayanne LLC, 10563 Country Walk Lane. Okay, so when we approved the mobile food court for Rayanne LLC, we did tell them they had to come back and get the building approved, that plan did not approve a building because we didn't have a building plan. So, they have come back with the proposed schematic that you see here. It has, a basement with restroom. It has a beverage center and prep kitchen. And then on the top floor, of course, there was an office and an outdoor seating area. It's 700 square feet, and I take that back, it's 700 square feet footprint. Is not total square footage of the building, it's just the footprint. The owner, Mike Tomasian, is here to answer any questions and to present the details about his plan.
Mike,
Yes.
not what I envisioned, not happy that you're gonna have to blast with the basement, not happy that it's 2-story.
Maybe we don't have to blast, maybe we'll get lucky. We trenched for the electric, and there was no blasting, they cut all the way the property years ago.
Okay,
And,
why do you need a basement?
well, there's several reasons, so. After we did all the projections on a food truck court. With some of the best restaurateur and hospitality people up here and banks. There's literally no way that a food truck court in and of itself is viable with the level of investment that's needed. What's needed is a building that can at least support the food trucks, and so the beverage, by having the beverage, helps keep the food trucks from not having to store all these drinks and whatnot. Now you can have a cooler down there, you can have drinks, you can actually make a living and try to pay the nut and the overhead. Plus the basement's good for even, storage in general. The first floor has a minor prep kitchen and it's all FRP and just clean, and it's for serving beverages. And, unfortunately, putting bathrooms there just doesn't cut it, doesn't generate any income unless I charge for bathrooms, that's not gonna happen. But to build, it just can't support it, there's no way. Because even if we had 7 food trucks perfectly, which takes time to ever get 7, you may have 1 or 2. Literally, the investment is larger than most people would ever think, it's huge, way more than I thought. And I think Grant from Keller did an amazing job. I have kind of superimposed on here, if you'd like to see how it looks, the building on the property.
You can pass those out, please.
He only gave me these, but I'll give them to you. Yes, pass them
We'll
through.
pass them around.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks. But without having some sort of structure, it's sort of like, I love food trucks, and I'm all for them. And I've been fighting for this for a long time, and it's been a long road. But even if you take Peach Barn, for example, they have a great business, it's successful. And now they have a deli on one property, and now they're going for a food truck. They have 3 sources of income on one plot of land, which is a lot. This was supposed to be the place where the village would say, hey, you know what? Go talk to Mike or go to the food truck, go put your food truck there. And I was trying to put a big investment in one spot that was dog friendly, kid friendly, turf, electric car charging, bottle filler, bike filler, all the stuff. And now it's like, well, you can't do all that and wait to get a few bucks to rent a spot once in a while. So you have to have something that's gonna generate some income, only thing to find about that. When I talk to a lot of food truck operators, they don't wanna carry cases of, let's say, Coca-Cola. They have no place for that. And now they can say, hey, go to the concession stand or whatever you wanna call it, and go get your coffee, your tea, your milk, your orange juice, whatnot. And even if I had one food truck, at least people could come there to get, let's say, coffee, something. So, and then, it's a place to be on site, because the rules, you have to be on site. If the weather's inclement, they can go in the second, it's protected, under roof. I don't know, I thought it was a beautiful plan, and I thought, with the stone veneer, with the open timber, I thought it was really pretty, and I thought they knocked it out of the park with that.
Well, this looks way better.
Pictures are, they look better. You can envision it.
There is a problem though with the north elevation that's just all wall with no windows that would have to be addressed.
This is just,
That's where the trash is though. And there would be, in other words, the trash is behind it. On the original, the trash compartment is right behind it. Yes, you could put a window there, but the trash is right below you.
Well, it could be on the,
second story.
Yeah, you got a second.
yeah,
second
you would
story.
have to break that wall up because that's not good. Even though I realize what it's facing, but the road does go all the way around. That would have to be addressed. So a beverage center, is this alcoholic beverages?
Well, not now, but honestly, I would love to do that later on. I don't know how to do that, but if I ever got beer and wine, I think it would be great. I think in the beginning, just to get it open and to see if the projections even match out.
So because the food court that we approved had to have somebody on site. So that person would be managing the beverage center, making sales to help pay the bills, because what you have found is that just renting 7 food trucks is,
Even if you got 7 for 6 months, there's no way to guarantee that a truck would be there May through October. But, you know, they come and go, and you have
Right.
maybe 2 spots for people who come from Green Bay or whatever like this. But even if you got, some people charge 25% of sales. That's when you're really booming, like in Bailey's. I talked to JR. He charges 25% of sales, but he's established. In the beginning, if you charge 10% of sales, just to drum up the business, to get them there. You can also do it similar to how, let's say you did an app and it was Fall Fest. That would probably draw a premium for those few days to be there because of the traffic. But generally speaking, when you talk to these food truck operators, they don't want to spend a lot of money. And they want to spend the least amount. If you try to get 1,000 a month, and you did the numbers on 1,000 a month times 7 trucks times 7 months, it's not even close to the investment in this, which is substantial. Because of the rules. You know,
Nice job today. I'm trying to, I'm on with the Villages Sister Brigade and trying to.
and we can hear you. Please mute your microphone.
Denise, I have a question.
Yes, Marge.
I didn't think we were supposed to consider money.
We're not.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to demean what he's saying, but these are his concerns that as a businessman coming to us with a plan that now is not seen to be effective, it's not our job to correct that problem.
Well, I do understand that, but then you think of I gotta use Peach Barn as an example. If Peach Barn closed their Peach Barn and their deli, one food truck's not gonna support their business. It's
But
supplemental.
Peach Barn isn't what we're talking about.
It's an example because it's the first one that's been approved, and they have beer, wine, or whatever, and they have deli, and they have 3 businesses.
We
on
don't
the
set precedents.
I understand, but you're not gonna get a food truck court. That's what you want.
And we won't get a Peach.
You're not gonna get a place that can match the rules. Because the rules cost about $1 million. And you could talk to Keller. I have his bid right here. Right here. I bid it with 3 people. That's with the plumbing, the electrical, the dump stations, all of this stuff, the turf, the generator, the garbage, the landscaping, the parking. So if it's gonna cost me that, it's gonna cost someone else in the future, and it's not viable. It's just not viable building that can support it. And then what's gonna happen is, it's probably gonna end up being where places will first get their building that's a hot dog stand or something, and later on go for a food truck. Like a Peach Barn, as an example. No one's gonna go into it saying, I'm gonna do a food truck court for the community. Because it's not viable just to do all that, and hopefully you get 7 spots for a few months. So I think you need to have a building that can at least serve something.
So if you don't have those food trucks there, if you have 2 out of 7, then how busy is your beverage center gonna be?
Well, the nice thing about this beverage center is it's the way it looks and it's appealing. The property alone is a draw. You got electric car charging, you got a bicycle repair station, you could draw people to it, and the way it's situated, it's so you see it's on like the sidewalk. And there's also a window that can open up, let's say it's 4 feet of snow, and I can't have a food truck. But I can open up the window and say, hey, coffee. You at least, it allows you to at least try to make a living out of a small structure that's still 700 square foot footprint. But I don't know that, we did projections on it, but it is possible that people would come there to get a coffee or get a soda or get a slushie. Or you host baseball teams and little leagues, and it's a way to bring them in without having to rely just on, oh my God, I hope so-and-so's food truck, rents a spot, for a weekend.
I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. How does that now all affect parking? If you're talking about bringing groups in, are you talking, and there's no way that we could pull
Hi there.
that you could only do that if you didn't have all 7 rented on any given day, because the parking that we approved was.
That sucks.
I have more parking.
Right, you did have more. Thank you, gonna second who's ever in their kitchen on Zoom, would you please mute yourself? I'm getting tired of this.
I think we're gonna have to stop doing Zoom meetings, unfortunately, because it's
So fun.
it's very annoying.
Very annoying.
There's so much parking there, though. Like every day I'm there, we have businesses there. There's just so much parking back there. So that lot is never filled. Ever.
I've never seen
It's
that
empty.
lower level.
It's just
filled.
empty.
And Claude's Kitchen is
Well, it's for
moving
sale.
to a new location.
Yeah, I actually talked to them.
Mike, the main purpose of that beverage center though is for the food trucks, right? I
Oh,
mean,
for
it's
sure.
not like you're advertising it as some place where people are gonna drive in for a drink or something. It's,
Not at all. It's definitely the food truck court. But if you came up on your bicycle, you're not gonna, I don't know, eat a lobster roll. I'm not gonna say no to you if you buy a Coca-Cola or something.
right.
It is, but there's no way, when I talk to these food trucks, there's no way they can even handle the amount of beverage in their vehicle. There would be nowhere to like store it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is making more sense. You need beverage.
What do they do now?
Some of them don't really, if they're like, let's say a Peach Barn, I bring up, that's gonna be over there, or if they, like when Savor went to other places, I think they were by like another market. They're always like by either like, like Dovetail had one at a time, but they would go in there. There's always a supplemental building that has some other things
So
happening.
they depend on another business.
They don't just stand alone and then stack up like tons of bottled water or, whatever the soft drink.
Yeah, the ones I know of in Bailey's Harbor are all by a bar or a place that serves drinks.
Yeah, all their drinks, they say, go over there, go over there, go over there, for everywhere, and I'm like,
Okay, so you learned something and are
Drinks.
presenting it to us. We're learning. Nate?
Something that it's been turning the back of my head on this that I'm just not comfortable with is, and I don't know that if there's going to be beer and wine there, the dynamic of this is, as I have always said for food trucks, is people are coming and going. I think that's a bad thing for public safety to have coming and going when we're also serving alcohol there. And I understand people go to restaurants and all that, but I think the turnover on a food truck, people aren't gonna be there as long. And I guess I'm not maybe verbalizing that entirely,
I don't
but
know.
I'm not, that gives me a moment of pause.
I mean, every food truck has some sort of beer or wine near it. Bailey's Harbor, Peach Barn, they all have some sort of beverage available. And no one's gonna tell someone, hurry up and eat and get out, or, someone might hang out there, but generally speaking, the culture of it, the culture of a food truck generally is in and out. It's generally, I wanna get my food and go. Some people might not even drive there, they might just bike there or, send someone to pick up food, depends. But for the majority of the people, our guests that come here from out of town, it's a nice place. Yeah, if they stop there and they have kids and they're a dog and they're running around, they might be there a little longer. But no one's gonna like time them, and most of the people are like, hey, let's grab a quick sandwich. It's not a sit-down restaurant, it's not as comfy as going to, let's say, an L Johnson and enjoying.
That's exactly my point though.
But that's the nature of it, it's a picnic table outside, there's no like, it's not, it's generally grab and go.
I guess you're not asking for this liquor license now. I guess I'm just saying it'd be a hard sell for me on such a, because of the safety issues I perceive, but
Yeah.
but we're not, I guess you brought it up, so I took that lead.
I mean, in the
It's
future
beyond
would be
scope
great,
right now.
I think so, I mean, I would definitely try to go for that. Because the projections are much better with beer and wine, just in the business generally.
This is way up.
Well, because of this, I feel much better about it. Sorry if I
That's
jumped on,
correct, he did a good job. I think he's
if I jumped down your throat to start with, but it looked horrible in the packet.
So as far as,
I understand, and now that I understand, I'm much better suited for it. If you end up blasting, it's gonna cost you even more because you are going to have to videotape everybody's business and home and the condos within 300 feet. To see if there's, before you blast and then go in after. That's a regulation in the village when you blast. That's, I don't know how much it is, but it's not cheap. So that would be an added expense that you would have if you really wanna have that basement. I'll let you figure that one out.
Mike, is there any concern with that basement with the amount of water that, I mean, you're kind of like the gathering spot at the end of that road, as you know. And your plan is to take the water off your lot and get it safely off the lot. But with the water, is there any concern with that basement filling up? with
No, I
water?
mean, it's concrete footing foundation, I mean, it's all water sealed
Yeah.
anyway, you know what I mean, and the front area that's gonna house all that water. You know what I mean, it's gonna go to that way, there's, in the, the actual plumbing, there's like veins that bring the water to that area. I don't think so, I mean, Keller's, I would say one of the best in the entire area. And they went through it and came up with all of this, I mean,
Did Keller do something for the village in the past? Or did they just bid on something? I can't
They bid
remember.
on something.
We
They-
worked with them or not
We,
before.
we
Okay.
haven't had any. Not in my time.
I do need to bring up the fact that their neighbors are not happy about having a food truck court there. And now they're gonna have a two-story building with people sitting on a deck. No longer blocked by the shrubs that go along between Birchwood and this.
I mean, it's shorter than Carver Rose's building, smaller. Prettier, I would say it's a very good looking building.
I'm just gonna pull it up on the county's web map and take another look at it. I mean, they have 2-story buildings, so.
And they have decks over there too.
And as we found out, they did not, plant the trees that they were supposed to when they built that place. When I went back in the file.
I think at some point, the people that were, when that was built. People were not in a great, they did not like that building being built there, so I think it's a matter of the new thing at that day. I mean, I understand they've been there a little bit longer, but that wasn't that long ago they came in there.
NIMBY is alive and well.
Yimby is just cut.
Mike, the purpose of the deck with the patio tables is to provide extra seating.
Not extra, I mean, we have enough seating, but I figured, right, you can't control weather, it's all open air. And I think, one, I think it looks beautiful, but two, it is great to be out of the elements if there is a problem. Go upstairs and be out of the rain or, and storms do hit once in a while and,
Some are short-lived.
So much shorter.
I am okay with it then, as long as the north elevation has to be designed with, some windows to break up that monotony.
In the past, we've said an architectural feature, which could be a window or something else. Does it have to be a window?
No, it doesn't have to be a window. They can be creative with it. It just,
Window's a good idea anyway. I mean, it's-
they
it's
can
a
be
lot of
fake
wall.
they can be fake windows, you know, that's done often.
Yep.
And I wonder if there isn't also something maybe, you know, between the first and the second floor, something that could go horizontal, you know, to even break it up a little bit more.
Yes.
That west elevation is what the public is gonna see. Maybe that's where a sign is.
Well, this back part, is really, it's by Herbert. It's like, it's the furthest corner. It's where the driveway comes out.
Right,
It's, in other words, not in the street. It's
right, it's
fake.
not on the street, but it's still
I know what
not,
you mean, yeah.
not acceptable, even though the only people that'll be looking at it is people that are driving.
I think it's a good idea, windows and breaking it up. I never really looked at it like that in the back.
And then, when Julie talks about the west elevation, if there's a little additional, something that maybe can follow through to the west elevation, of also having something horizontal between the first and second. Maybe it's the way the siding goes, maybe it's a horizontal board again,
Like the deck part going across.
something.
I think there's shrubs on that side anyway, where that sidewalk is.
There are,
There's.
but not tall enough.
Yeah.
I don't know how big, you know, and I don't,
I need some arborvitae plant, tall, skinny too.
so and that would be an option also, even if there's a horizontal thing. Board. Yeah, you could easily change that with something that would grow taller. That would be helpful.
Yeah, well, you can take that.
So then the main entrance then to the beverage center is the east elevation door, the first one, is that where you enter?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's on the side. Yeah, I don't think they drew the door.
No, that was just a rendition, like.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
tried to hurry it up to get it.
No worries.
I'd rather have a two-story building with the 700 square foot footprint than one-story building with 1,400 square foot footprint.
There's just no room for it to go.
There's not, but I'm just saying in general, I mean, the one thing about going higher is you don't get sprawl.
I agree.
Right, you maintain more of your green space. So what are we supposed to be doing?
We need to approve a building or reject it. Because we've already approved the conditional use permit, we approved the development agreement. But the development agreement had a condition that said when it came time to put up that building, he needed the plans approved by the commission. So we have to decide, are we okay with this building? And if we are, we're gonna approve it. And if not, we're gonna deny it.
But
or
we want to
condition.
make changes, so even though we haven't seen those changes, can we approve it without seeing the
You
changes?
can approve it with conditions or telling them you, what changes you want and have them come back.
Well, don't you have to approve the beverage center and the prep center too? That wasn't in the original plan.
But
Right,
that's,
but it was a building is what it talked about. It said that 700 square foot footprint that was there. He had to come back to us for approval for that building. So
So
we weren't specific on what was in
Want me
that.
to read it? I got it. Want me to read it?
anybody else have any other questions?
I mean, do we want to approve it or do we want to see it come back? I think it's the fundamental question.
Well, there's only a few changes. I mean, I would make sure that when I get to the building permit, you'd see the actual final plan that has the trim, the windows, those little things. They're really minor. Mostly the siding guys
We-
make it pretty.
I've said this one or two times before, I'll say it again, that if you want to approve it with the changes that we have discussed tonight, that would be conditional upon Julie and I signing off on seeing those plans.
I was just thinking, yeah.
Do you know I'm not a pushover?
We don't want them to come back.
All right, now you may read.
Okay. That the plan commission approves the elevation drawings and floor plans for the mobile food court building that was proposed by Mike Tomasian at this meeting on the condition that the north elevation of that building must contain some type of architectural feature that breaks up the long expanse of wall, as well as some type of horizontal feature that ties that wall in with the west elevation of the building. Those revisions must be approved in writing by the village administrator as well as the plan commission chair.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Kane. Any further discussion? All those in favor, well, he will also have to get us colors and everything, because won't the development agreement, we never approved colors.
We did not, but Mike, is it the color that you have
I mean,
here?
I like those colors, but if someone said, hey, you want to bring us some different colors, that's almost later, because that would be siding, you just pick them.
Right, I know, but I'm saying normally in our development agreement, and if we've already approved that, this would have to be an addendum with those very specific colors in
Yeah.
it,
My
so.
understanding is we were approving the green cedar looking building.
I love that, but.
Is it green or is it blue-gray?
It's kind of a greenish siding with like the natural cedar looking beams and like the, you know,
Okay,
the kind of chalet looking.
okay. So would that be then an addendum?
You actually have to do an amendment to the development agreement, right, Julie? And then that'll come next meeting.
No, because again, the development agreement took care of everything, but said the
Oh,
building needs
okay.
plan commission approval. So anything with that building is gonna need plan commission approval. So if we're saying we're okay with this and we put a condition on, we want to review the color sample, or the color sample gets reviewed by Denise and I, we just make that a condition.
I would say it gets reviewed by Easton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we'll say, and those revisions as well as the siding, color or colors must be approved by Denise and
Well, and the masonry, and it's not just the siding, it's the
Yeah.
timbers, the siding and the masonry.
okay. Color or colors, oops, of the siding, masonry, and what else?
The timbers?
Okay. Okay.
Denise,
Yes, Marge.
Patrice is muted. She's asking for somebody to unmute her, please.
Go ahead, Patrice.
Thank
Do you have a
you.
que- do you have a
Um,
que-
I had a comment. I was concerned about the stairwell. This is not handicap accessible at all. Is that okay with the village rules that they can get by? without it being handicap accessible?
So the village itself doesn't have any rules on that. What we would do is defer to the state inspector that has to review the plan. I am guessing because it was designed by Keller and they have their own architects that they already checked that out. But what will
Okay.
happen is if it doesn't meet code when they submit it for state review, it's gonna get rejected and they're gonna have to start over.
Okay.
Mike, you have to let us have this
You
or
can
at least
have
make a copy.
Yeah, you can have them.
We
So on
need
the
for the file.
ADA thing, 'cause I love the ADA stuff, I do it. As long as you don't put something on another floor that's different, that's not on the first. You couldn't put like a pool table up there. Cause someone with that disability couldn't use it. As long as it's seating only, they're seating downstairs, they're seating upstairs.
Okay.
Oh, that's
But
the
if you
rule.
put something up there, like anything, like a dartboard, you gotta put it.
Okay.
Interesting. That's new information for
It has to
me.
be equal.
Equal. Yeah, I won't get on that soapbox. Okay. All right, we had a motion and a second.
Well, nobody seconded it yet. You made it, right? Oh, wait.
Ron did.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Okay.
All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed?
I,
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck, Mike.
Thank you very much.
7D, site plan review, professional office and takeout pizza shop, Andrew and Tina Torsivia, 10553 Country Walk Lane.
Put that on there.
Okay, so I'm not sure if Andrew is here or online, but,
He's online. I gotta ask him to unmute.
okay, so they are looking at purchasing Julie's resale and having a, real estate office in the back of the building and a takeout, pizza style facility on the front. He provided the plans that we have here, there, I did not have a survey or anything, so my review is based on what was submitted. There was some, concerns with the property that, you know, hopefully Andrew can answer today, or things that we had. You know, one is, I think we have to look at that parking, and then the landscaping was something that doesn't meet code, so we'd wanna look at that as well. If we're inclined to approve it, propane tank, dumpster, common stuff like that, that we typically look at, are all things that are missing on this property. Julie's resale, I'm guessing predated our zoning rules when we required all that stuff. Or at least when the code was amended to require that, so a lot of the things we normally would request are not on this property, so we'd have to look at with the review.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
my first problem is we don't have a survey. So I cannot be sure that, the parking stalls are 20 feet in length. I am not sure that the aisle width between the parking and the building meets code without having that survey and being drawn. I think in the bottom, I am on page 106. Where they have parking stalls in that bottom right-hand corner. I don't think you can have that. You have people pulling out into each other, which takes away some additional parking. So. And if you pull in and go into the angled parking, and then you want to leave, so you back out, then you can kind of only go one way and turn around in that circle drive, which is, if you looked at it from the overhead or the GIS map. And so do we have enough space in that aisle width, not just to meet code, but to have two-way traffic?
I could, would you like me to wait to comment or should I comment now?
Let us just talk for a few minutes, Andrew,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
can kind of address if there's other things. So did anybody? And there's no lighting plan, they don't plan on changing the lighting, but what are the hours of operation? What time do they, would they shut down at night, and, should there be lighting if they are serving into the evening? Granted, in the height of the season, doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock. But at other times it gets dark earlier and there should be lighting.
And that's at the back of the building,
Right,
which is butting up.
butting up
against-
to the residential property.
Yes. And I'd like to know too, he says, the ambition to expand in the future. What does that mean?
But to a certain degree, it doesn't matter, because this is what's in front of us now, and if he wants to expand or do something different in the future, he'll have to come back and present that.
I know that the property that this butts up against is going to be very upset because he's a neighbor of mine. And I wouldn't blame him because he likes spending his summer evenings on his deck in back, which faces the back of Julie's. And now it would be facing a pizza carryout with cars coming and going, people waiting inside to get their pizza, whatever. So there's gonna be just that revolving door of traffic. And it's a little lot back there. There's a tree in the middle,
Mhm.
and you have to drive around that to turn around and get back out. So where he's got parallel parking spots,
Right.
none of those spots are really marked at all, because I frequented Julie's. So I know, I mean, we would park a lot in the gravel between her building and the next, it's the yoga building. But there's a limited number of shrubs on that side, and at the back, I mean, I don't like the fact that that restaurant pickup bar, I mean, beer, wine, whatever they're gonna be selling there is gonna be at the back end of my neighbor's yard. And I know I'm not allowed to say that, but I'm saying it anyway because that's something that I don't like. And I would think if it's gonna be real estate and pizza, the pizza's gonna do more physical business, put that in the front of the building. So it's seen and not really disrupting a neighborhood because it's facing the road, it's facing the back of Piggly Wiggly.
I hear what you're saying. But it's also a commercial piece of property. And unfortunately, there's a lot of residential districts that abut commercial districts. And,
And once again,
you just never know what
that's right.
anybody is going to do with any particular piece of property at any given time.
Well, I would like to see him move the pizza end of it at the front of the building, or at the least put a 6-foot stockade back there. So there's some sort of blockage between traffic coming and going, picking up their pizza, whatever they're doing,
And that would be our plan. Our plan is not to disrupt any existing residents. I mean, obviously I'm a resident of Sister Bay as well. And we definitely don't want to impede on anyone's, leisure time at home or wherever it is. And quite honestly, the business is next door and the condos next door. So we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable and, with regard to the beverage, this is to go. There's no loitering. We don't want people sitting in cars drinking beers. That's not what our business is directed towards. It's family oriented. Come and grab your pizza and be able to exit, our establishment without causing any kind of a situation. Specifically with regard to what you're saying on the back lot, we feel the same way, and we would certainly, we have already discussed putting up some sort of a fence line, in front of, or, depending on the property line, in front of or behind the existing shrubs that are X number of feet tall, currently there. So we would definitely want to do that.
So what? I'm trying to remember and I can't. Where does it talk about in the code?
The difference between the two zoning districts, and how
Yeah.
you need a hedge.
Where is that?
I have to find it again. I did,
You did find it once?
yeah, it's in the staff report that it is required. I just have to find it, in the code.
I don't know how anybody else feels about a survey, but I don't think we can approve anything until we know that everything fits and traffic flows and parking, the required parking fits.
I think that, there's a lot of work that has to be done on the site plan, and I think Andrew knows that. I think if he could at least get some inclination, is this something we're likely to approve if he can meet code and provide us everything, or is this just don't even bother, So he has some indication on how to move forward, because Andrew, you did not buy the property yet, correct? Well, I think given some guidance, so he can come back.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize. My phone went on mute again. That is correct. We are we have an accepted offer on Julie's, and so this is our goal is to get an indication that we will be approved. Granted, we make the corrections, et cetera, and provide what you need moving forward. But at least I can get a good indication that we will be approved. Obviously, we want to push that along as quick as we can. And I would like to know real quick is that the dimensions of the parking lot and the lot itself were taken from the survey that we've got from the listing itself. So dimensionally, the lot, the parking spaces should all be fairly accurate. Now, I will note that we put in we put in as many parking spaces as we could fit. We can certainly draw back on that to make sure that we can have proper traffic flow throughout the parking lot.
So you do have a survey of the property?
Well, here's what we would like to do is actually get an actual surveyor to come in and survey it. What we have is directly from the listing itself. So I can provide that to you from where I can provide that to you so that you understand where we got these dimensions from.
You would think there would be a survey somewhere.
Yes, there would be one on file with the county.
Well, if we can,
Well, then get it and
Yeah.
draw on top of it. to
Okay.
scale.
do we think this is something we would support and approve, provided he can meet parking, landscaping, et cetera, so he knows whether to close on the property? And then over the course of the month, he can work on making sure his parking lot meets the code, and then
See, I
having
would
proper
ne-
landscaping.
I understand all that. I feel very uncomfortable giving a nod to something, not having any idea if they'll be able to meet code, and then somebody goes and spends, which I know we're not supposed to talk about money, but it's all about how my thinking is going, hundreds of thousands of dollars on something that then they cannot do.
Well, quite honestly, I mean, to be honest with you, moving my real estate business and my vacation rental business to that building as well also help support, anything that I would, as far as covering, again, not money aside, but I don't think that not having a pizzeria there is going to impact not being able to do something there, not being able to move forward with it. My goal is to move forward with the pizzeria because it's something that I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, but in addition to that, I know that what we've pulled as far as dimensions are concerned it is viable with what we've got and what we've provided up to this point.
Andrew, the
I mean,
concern,
we have, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
the concern is like when you have parking stalls at a certain angle, you need a
Mhm.
aisle at a certain amount, certain width.
Sure.
And
And
now
Yep.
you need two-way traffic.
And with no in and out, you need it to be a two-way. It just doesn't look like there's enough room unless you widen it.
Correct. Correct,
So-
exactly.
I think there's room to widen it, but we don't know without that actual survey, like, is there room to widen it and still meet the setback for a parking lot from the lot line?
Mhm.
So those are
Yeah,
the
we-
details I think that have to be worked out.
I think as long as we're transparent with him on what that is, that's his risk to take. I think that.
Right, I would agree.
We should be transparent and say this, if you don't get this, we're not promising you that you're gonna meet these criteria, but these are the criteria, you meet them.
Yeah.
We're okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, we're confident. We've already done, you have a 10-foot green space setback. We know that if we expand, whether it be gravel to be to instant, to do it immediately, if we added gravel and then eventually within the next, by the end of the summer, obviously we know how the tourism goes, extend it and add asphalt, then we still meet the setback for the green space, and we can also do the additional, or we can have the parking with the proper traffic flow in and out of the lot.
So we would give preliminary approval?
No, we had one the other day or last month. I think we were said, conceptually, we like the idea. We can't approve it until we get these details. I was just wondering if we wanted to do that. I mean, that's not saying it's approved or not. It's just saying, yeah, I mean, we like the idea. We're not opposed to a pizza parlor there. But if you can't meet code, you can't be approved. So come back with your plans.
And I would be comfortable with that.
Basically saying the uses, we're not opposed to the use, but you gotta meet parking, all this other stuff, or we're not gonna be able to.
I am curious, is it the office up front, because that's what you see as the primary use? And I'd agree that it seemed like you have the pizzeria up front and the office in back. I'm just curious to know your logic on there.
I think it's.
Well,
way,
the back, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think you decided that because of the way the building was originally designed.
Correct, yes. The way that it's laid out right now is that you've got office space currently in the front, desks and cabinetry built in there. Obviously, we would put new flooring in it, do something internally, but the back end of back end of the building is wide open. And it really helps us to be able to create what we want efficiently without having to do too much reconstruction of the interior. And I also apologize. I apologize I couldn't be there in person because we're on spring break right now. So I apologize for that.
So Andrew, I'll just go through some of the things that would have to be looked at on this, one is, like they said, a survey showing setbacks and everything, so we know how much. If anything needs to be added onto that parking lot and how much, and then we have to have a design for that parking lot. Usually an engineer has to do that for you, because you're gonna be adding impervious surface, so they're also gonna have to be looking at drainage on that one. Because there is a residential zoning district next door to you, you do have to come up with fencing, like a fence with a berm with plants, or a fence with plants or something to mitigate any conflicts with that residential property. And then on the south side too, there's no landscaping there, so, so you gotta start thinking about land.
Yep,
And
we can do that.
then And then the propane tank, you just gotta figure out how you're gonna screen it.
Mhm.
And there's no dumpster on here, so we have to talk about that, like, where is it gonna be? Is it
Right.
gonna be fence around it, is it gonna be screened with shrubs, or how is that gonna?
How's it could be accessed? A truck.
Yeah,
Is
and
he
how,
gonna have to carry it out?
yeah, and how is the dumpster accessed by, because right now, if you had the parking the way you do, I don't think a dumpster could get back there. So that, that's all the stuff that, you know, in my mind has to be looked at before we can go further.
Okay. Okay, well, we can provide all that pretty rapidly. And get it right back to you guys.
Well, we don't meet for another month.
Correct. Correct. Okay, well, so we're, as far as conceptually, as far as, I guess what I need to know is that if what I'm proposing is going to be approved, but, you know, based on what you're asking me to provide you, because otherwise it makes no sense for me to buy a building that you're gonna not, you know, not give the approval on. If you approve of what the business concept, as long as that I can kind of like just recapping what Julie said is, you know, as long as I can provide you with dumpster, parking, survey, etc. Is this a concept that the board would approve in the future?
Yeah, I think your biggest hurdle, and you didn't mention it, is the two-way traffic.
Yeah, correct. That, yes, that when yeah, parking lot that meant in parking, I meant two-way traffic as well. Yes, yeah, agreed. So if I can get that information, and obviously I'll know that based on my survey, and measurements, etc. If we can make that work, then that's, again, like kind of what Nate said, that's on us. We need to be able to make that work. But if I can get your approval or concept approval, then that gives us hope to move forward here.
Could I read this back to you, what I've got so far? Schmelzer asked if this is something, excuse me, that commission members believe could be approved, provided all the provisions of the zoning code are satisfied. And to that end, a survey of the property must be provided, a parking lot plan must be provided, a site plan must be provided, a landscaping plan must be provided. Proof shall be provided that the propane tank for the building will be screened by either vegetation, shrubs, or a fence. Any dumpsters for the businesses must be screened from public view and located on a hard surface that is not dedicated for required parking. And the provision of two-way traffic must be addressed. Further, a landscaping plan must be approved by the plan commission and adhered to.
I want to put in lighting plan,
Okay,
even though they said they're not changing the lighting. If
okay.
you're gonna be open.
Well, no, we did supply specs for the lighting, and if lighting plan, if you need an individual elevation or whatever additional drawing, but on the elevation drawing we provided shows in the soffits that we're going to have down lighting as to, you know, because we are dark sky, so I want to be able to provide down lighting throughout the entire north side of the building, and then in the back there's actually existing lighting that is above the garage door, but if we need to add something back there, we certainly can. So we did provide a lighting spec as well.
Yeah, so on that, Andrew, we're gonna need the lighting for the back, so we do have it of
Okay.
what's going on in your soffit. But, there was no mention of the light in the back, so we need to address
And
that.
especially if people are going around that circle to go back out,
Yeah, we can do that.
there may or may not be additional lighting
Yeah,
to light that.
Yeah. Maybe if we lit the back corners, each back corner of the lot, and then we've got the down lighting coming. Well, I'll have to get you specs for approval. Obviously, it'll have to be per spec based on the square footage or based on the area.
I am glad you chose 3000K color on those lights.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we preferred.
Yep.
So our,
Is this general consensus or is this a motion or?
I think it's just general consensus, so he knows. Is this even, if I can figure out all the details and meet code, they're probably gonna approve it. Or is it just a hard no, there's no way we're gonna approve that use on that property no matter what you do? I think he's just looking for direction at this point, because obviously it doesn't meet code. You know, and he knows he has to do some work on it.
Correct, absolutely.
so do we have general consensus that we give it the nod with all the criteria that Janelle read to us? And when he gets all that, we'll see it back on our agenda.
Yes.
Nate?
I would be a yes.
Yes.
Ron? Laurel? No? Patrice?
Saying hi. I
She's
think that's
muted.
yes.
Is that a yes? Thumbs up?
Oh, I'll ask her to. She was on the video, I don't know what happened.
And did we lose Marge? I don't see her up there. Why does Patrice keep getting?
Thank
muted?
you. Yes, yes,
Okay.
I'm in consensus with, the planning commission on this.
Okay, all right,
Where's one away?
okay.
So the only one opposed unless we hear from Marge is Laurel. Is
Yep.
that right? Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right, moving on to 7E, Development Agreement Reconsideration, Motel, Richard and Jeannie Hoffman on Chalet Lane. Julie?
Okay, so, you saw that the attorney has requested us to look at this property and I gave you some details on it. Basically, they had a development agreement. They never, followed through and got the permit on it. The development agreement is gonna expire at the end of the year. They have, asked us if we would open it up and basically reconsider some things. When I looked at the file, there were really only two things that were really, that we had concerns with that I think maybe we look at. One was the fact that there's really no lobby. And I'm not sure, I wasn't here when those plans were reviewed, but I'm thinking maybe they started going with the keyless lobby. I don't know. You guys would know about that. And the other issue that I saw in that file was the driveway. When it was approved, they were told that they needed to have a 24-foot wide hard surface, which meant that they would be taking out a row of trees, and that's why they never proceeded with the project. Is they're like, we're not taking out that large row of trees. So they never signed, my understanding is that's why they never got the permit, never signed the development or got the permit. As you know, the code has now changed. They could get by with an 18-foot hard surface. We'd have to reconsider it and allow that to happen. I don't know if 18 would satisfy them or not. I just know that's what the code would allow right now because of the code changes since this was originally approved. Our options are do nothing with this property. They have until the end of the year to get their permit, put in the 24-foot wide driveway and finish the project. Or we agree to open the case and discuss specific items only. And maybe we do that now. Maybe we do that through a separate meeting. That's our choice. Or we agree to reopen the case and discuss the entire development agreement. Again, we can do that now, or we could do that at a subsequent meeting.
So my concern here is, as Julie stated, back in November, she contacted them when the roadway was changed. And now it's at the end of March, so 4 or 5 months have passed, for this request. We have a development agreement that we moved on to the board and the board approved. And that development agreement expires December 31st of this year. So how, if we open it back up and have discussions just pertaining to, the driveway and want to change that, I physically, or I don't know how they could physically get this built by the time the development agreement expires. When we keep hearing month after month, I can't comply with the zoning code, I can't get this done, I can't get that done because everybody's so backlogged.
What's the,
And then if they, which is also not our concern. Oh, and Marge is back. If we did do all of that, and if they did pull the permit and at least start on it, they're also, because it's not finished, would have to pay,
For assessment.
minimum assessed valuation that's in our development agreement. So I kind of think the best way all around is just to start from scratch.
that's what I thought, so.
Nate?
The only, there's no way to restart the clock without going to scratch, is there? There's no reasonable way. We couldn't say we're changing it to 18 feet and we're gonna make it December 31st, 2025.
You could, but I have to tell you, I think that's very unfair to all the people that have met their deadlines.
Right.
If that's your option, recommend that.
Well,
But
that's exactly what I wanted to hear, is if we can do it, should we do it? That's the first question is can, next question, should we do it? I'm hearing, no, we shouldn't do it that way. So the
No.
best way, you're advising us just to start over from scratch, that's the fairest, most equitable way to deal with this?
I personally think that you could change it to say the driveway has to be 18 feet and it has to be done by the end of the year.
I just don't see that happen.
That's not gonna happen.
I don't know if that's possible. You know, when we, like you said, we're having a hard time getting contractors up here. Maybe you throw that out and that's their prerogative. If they can't make it, they can't make it, and then they just start over.
I think that's maybe what we do. I mean, like, I understand, like, does it put them in any worse position if we change it to 18 feet and say you have till the end of the year? And if we were to say we're gonna start over from scratch right now?
Well, I think if you say it's 18 and you have until the end of the year, if they, you know, we don't know, maybe they have contractors lined up, maybe they have them on reserve. Yeah, and maybe they are willing to come in and just hammer that out. We don't know that. I think it'd be tough, but I don't know their situation. So if they can't do it, then they're just gonna have to wait and start over.
What would,
We've
so,
been through, we've offered it, we went through the hearings, we went through the fights, we did all our work. Pay to read, if you want us to redo all this, you're gonna have to pay and apply like everybody else to redo it. Would be, I would think, the direction that we've done in the past.
what would the difference be if we changed it to 18 feet and nothing else? And we said, okay, this is what we're doing now, and they didn't want to do that versus right now when we're saying we're gonna start up from scratch. Is there any appreciable difference to them, other than they have a choice? If we reset, if we say we need to start from scratch now, if we start doing that next month? Saying we give them the choice, and then there's a month, and then we find out.
Or you may tell them 18 finished by the end of the year or start over, give them that choice.
Instead of just saying start over, because that's what the other option I hear you at saying is.
Are they with us tonight?
I don't know if the attorney's on or not. I know Richard's not. Richard had told me he was on the road, so I don't know about the attorney.
May I speak?
Yes, please.
I got a call today from Andy Hendrickson. He is out west on vacation. He's one of the neighbors, speaking for all the neighbors in that neighborhood. They, of course, the history there, they do not like this project. They really don't want that chalet lane used as a in and out main thoroughfare for the hotel. Is very dangerous, and it is very dangerous. I took that drive today, being that you pull out on this narrow road on a curve on the highway. So the neighbors there are inclined to, they would prefer an entrance off of Meadow Lane if that's possible, which they think it is. But having said all that and taking their comments into regard, I am inclined to say they should just start over from scratch.
You know, I do, to be fair, I do want to make a comment on that. Yes, the neighbors want that, but we've been through that and we've decided that they have a legal access. That legal access is on Chalet. So to deny somebody their legal access and force them to go put in a different access. When the planning commission looked at that last time, they finally conceded, yeah, he has a legal, the code says that you have to use the legal access, that gets you, and if you're on a private road, you have to use the one that gets you to the public road. So it has a right to use that road. Now, I know that there's been neighborhood arguments on that road. And I've been out on with, to see some of the stuff neighbors did, you know, like where they put up a brush fence or they blocked Richard's access to stuff. I mean, there's a lot of neighborhood fighting going on, or I shouldn't say that. There appears to be some neighborhood tension out there. And I think we have to avoid that at this point. I mean, it's over and done with. He's got a permit. So that's why it's up to him. You either build it at 18, get it done by the end of the year, or you're gonna have to start over and deal with your neighbors.
Julie, if he builds a 18-foot road, does he have to cut down all those trees?
I don't think he does, you know, I have not been out there with a surveyor or anything. Definitely at the 24 feet, he's gotta take those trees down, those trees aren't gonna make it. And that's why he did not do it, is he did not wanna lose those big trees.
Yeah, those are nice trees.
I don't.
My other question is, that's a very odd place to put a hotel. It looks like a residential area. It's
Well,
zoned
it is zoned B1.
U1.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
And looking at the GIS map, I cannot, does it say in your file how wide that current road is, Julie?
I got all the files. Like I said, I don't
Because
think that's
even if we would shrink it 6 feet, you look at that GIS map, I don't think it's gonna make a difference.
that-
Because you still have to be 5 feet off the lot line, then you start your shoulder. Then you have 18 feet of road. And another gravel shoulder. I think those trees are coming down no matter what.
Does he have to get approval from the neighborhood?
No.
To take those trees?
No, because he owns the property that those trees are on.
Okay.
I can't remember what that driveway is right now. I would say 10 feet, maybe. I know right now if I remember right, you can't pass a car on there.
No, you can't.
No.
It's a one-lane road.
Yeah, I thought I had to go up and then come all the way back down, like I couldn't, or back up, I mean, when I was over there
It's
last
driveway
year.
width.
Yeah. Now, the code has been, it's a non-conforming driveway, because it's not wide enough. This does bring it more into, this would bring at least that portion of it into conformance, but I don't know, it's, like I said,
To me, it's start over time.
start overtime.
I'd be inclined to say, let them give them to the end of the year at 18 feet. But I understand your point, Ron. I don't think you're wrong. I just see it exactly that way.
I'm start over.
I'm start over.
I don't care.
Marge?
Because I think if you tell them 18 feet and they have to do it by the end of the year. It's giving him the power to say, now I have to start over. Because he's not gonna be able to finish it. I mean, this is March, so in 9 months, there's no way.
Well, and we would have to bring this back next month. Right?
Well, you'd have to you'd have to amend development agreement, which would go to the board.
Yeah, you got another month. And then it has to be approved by the board, yeah? So you got another month?
I think, you know, if the only change on it is that you're changing the width of the road, that could just be a recommendation to the board, so at the next month, the board would consider that amendment to the development agreement. I mean, I don't think we have to physically see the amendment for something
Okay.
that simple. That's your call, but I kind of a waste of time.
Marge, do you have an opinion?
Marge is muted.
I think you're muted, Marge. Why does that keep happening?
It's on her end. Marge, can you unmute yourself, please?
Okay,
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion?
yes.
Okay.
He should start over.
That, okay,
Okay. Democracy rules, okay. All right, item 7F, short-term rental exceptions request, Maple Manor, 2207 Maple Drive.
All right, so this is for the Nick request. And as you saw, he has 8 bedrooms and he is limited to 4. So he does need approval to exceed that 4. Also, the parking lot is larger than we would allow, it's 14. We would allow 4. And then, and actually I take it back on the number. Go back in here. And then the lot line, or I'm sorry, the parking, there's 2 parking lots, so that means there's 2 accesses, he's allowed 1. And then those parking lots do not meet setbacks because they are pretty close to the lot lines. So if you look at the staff report and go through here, you can see exactly what Gary has requested. Some of this, no matter what you do, the second driveway and, I'm sorry, the parking lot setbacks, that has to go to the zoning board of appeals. You can't give a waiver on that. That is something that you can look at the number of rooms, you can give a waiver on that. You can give a waiver on the number of stalls, but there's only so much that you can do.
Yeah, but if he redraws all the parking that meets code.
Correct. So his options are, he could go out there, he could cut off, he can bring it into compliance, sure. That's one of his options. Or go to the zoning board of appeals. There is a sign out there. The sign was permitted. I did talk to Gary this week, or maybe it was on Friday, Gary, when he wrote me and said he'd be willing to full sign if it helped with this case. Get
Does
the
help.
bedrooms approved. So,
On Julie's staff report, she states that he was permitted a short-term rental before the village issued short-term rental licenses. But then I questioned that because there's no way that that could happen. And so then she looked in the file, and so I just want to clarify what's in the staff report is not what we found.
well, wait a minute though. So I thought you were checking, did the plan commission approve this project? So what happened is a previous owner secured a permit from Bob Cochran to remodel that property.
Right.
And Bob allowed them to create all these bedrooms in there. At that time, we did not require licenses for short-term rentals.
That's right.
We did know it was a short-term rental property, though. There's a letter in the file to that effect that we knew it was being rented.
But that would never have come to plan
It did
commission.
not go to planning commission.
So then
And
we
then-
did not know that.
But then, when he applied for the sign, for whatever reason, that sign went to the plan commission. And at that time, it was discussed, this is a short-term rental. The plan commission was aware that the property was being used as a short-term rental.
It was one of the first.
Yeah, it never went to the plan commission for approval as a short-term rental,
No,
The planning commission's only action was approving that sign, but at that time, when you look at the minutes, it was clear that we knew the property was being rented that way.
right.
So. If the property owner can bring everything into compliance, that's wrong. The sign, the parking, the driveways, whatever else is wrong with it. I would be willing to allow the 8 bedrooms to be rented with 8 parking stalls. I don't think 14 parking stalls, no.
They never use them.
He says normally in his letter, I think his average is 16 people. That's 2 people per bedroom. And I don't think you necessarily need more than 8 parking stalls for 8 bedrooms.
How can you do that when you have an ordinance that says you can only have 4 parking spots?
Right. Because the ordinance says that if you want to exceed that, the only way to exceed that is to get approval from the planning commission.
Little.
It
That's
says in your hand.
little hick in there that I hate.
The
Yeah.
reason that I view this different than other requests that have come to us, and I'm sure that there will be more, is that it is in a residential area, but it is on the borderline of the residential area. It is a large lot, not in the middle of a residential district. That is how I view this.
When we talked about it and we had the plan commission override option, this is the parcel I thought of. Because like you say, it's not like it is in other areas that are so densely packed in with short-term rentals that it's gonna have a very negative impact to the neighbors.
This is Gary, can I add something? Can you
Please
hear
do
me?
so. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is Gary Plipnick, 2207 Maple Drive. I think, first of all, this church was built in the 1800s and is on the National Historical Site or the Wisconsin Historical Site. Anyway, and I think when you think about the parking, and the reason that we're fine with getting rid of the sign is 80% of our people that stay with us have stayed with us before, even going back to when Kurt Reitz owned the property. And many of the people, the reason they choose Sister Bay or Door County is because someone still has roots in that area. So if you limit us to the parking, and my aunt Wilma from Brussels is going to come, do you want her to park downtown and take up a parking spot? Or do you want her to park where we have an asphalt parking lot, which is what you made clear to somebody earlier today that they had to have? The other parking lot is like overflow. If I bring my pontoon boat up and I have 4 cars, where should I put my pontoon boat? We're good neighbors. The next door person is a short-term rental as well. I don't see the problem with just leaving everything as is.
Gary, don't forget, code says you can't park a boat at a short-term rental.
Okay, I realize that, but I'm just saying, last year I had a problem with my boat, no different than if you don't want somebody driving drunk and moving their car off the street downtown. I had a problem with my boat. My strap broke. Did you want it downtown or did you want it off in a parking lot where it's not a hindrance? That's my point. My point is we're good neighbors. We've had a good track record. We charge $1,500 a night. We don't have riffraff coming into our place. We've never had any complaints. I just want to move on with my life like I have, and it'll be an economic impact on me if this changes. I mean, you guys have the property, or the state has the property set at over $1 million that I'm paying taxes on. I could never get $1 million for that. I mean, you got to help me out here.
No, we don't, Gary.
Okay, maybe, you know what? You don't have to help me out. Just
In a
do what you think you need to do then. This is really frustrating. I mean, I've got people that have rented for 5 years in a row that come up for family reunions, and they come to Door County. They want to stay together. Where do you want them to go? There's nowhere for them to go.
Gary, this is Julie. The committee or the commission, it sounded like they were kind of leaning towards giving you some waivers here. Why don't you let them finish talking, before they don't give you a waiver?
Well, the waiver should be based on the facts, not the emotions. And the fact of the matter is, I have a 6-bedroom house that I bought. I got a building permit after everyone knew it was a 6-bedroom house that had 2 more bedrooms. I spent thousands of dollars. We put a new roof on the place. We've done a lot of things. We have an empty lot that we leave vacant so people can do things. I'm surprised that this is happening at all, I guess is my point.
Well, we have a zoning ordinance and we have rules to follow. That is why this is happening.
And I get that, but what about the people that have rented, that have reserved my house for 2024 and 2025 for a group of 16 and 17 people, and I got to call them and tell them you can't come now?
Well, if you want to stop being emotional and let us finish our discussion.
Well, the reason I interrupted is because and I can't see, someone said there that the reason for this zoning thing is to limit the parking to 4. And I get that. That's why I paid the $500 to get a deviation. I understand that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to follow procedure here.
Okay,
So
I
you
have
guys decide.
That's public comment, maybe? Close public comment off on it?
I have one question for Gary. He mentioned that it's on the Wisconsin historical site. How could that be with all the alterations that have been done on the inside to it?
I'm not sure how that goes. I was just told by the previous owner, and we have some pictures and documentation inside the house. I guess I can't. I'm not gonna go to the bank on that, but it's a building that's been in Sister Bay for a long time, and we're trying to keep it nice. Okay.
As a child, I went there. So that's where I was coming from. This has also been, well, first of all, I just have to make this comment, appropriate or not, because I don't understand the comment that just because you're renting it out for $1,500 a night, you're not going to get riffraff. I don't accept that. I don't like that. I don't know what that's implying. And I'm offended by it.
What I'm implying by that is that because it is expensive and that we provide a good product, we do not allow just anyone to rent our home. That's what I'm implying by that.
Gary, I wasn't asking you the question. I was just commenting because you're making it worse. Okay? Please let us just talk. This property was the site on multiple occasions last year where there were campers parked there long-term.
There was one camper that I was aware of, yeah.
Okay, just the one, not multiple times, just the one. So That's what I was thinking. That's how I came to my rationale,
8 cars?
one per bedroom. Now,
On
do we want to have a guest?
Woodcrest or on Maple Drive?
I don't think there's room in Maple, I'm not sure.
It have to be on Woodcrest.
Woodcrest.
Does he have, it looks like parking off of Maple and off of Woodcrest, correct? He has 2 drives.
Right.
Okay,
But that's not even that's not our decision to make at that point. I mean, the Maple's kind of, that's not something we get to decide. That would have to go zoning.
He either has to bring it into compliance or get a variance.
Yeah.
If that's your decision. Well, he has to do that regardless.
We can't, if we wanted to, we can't just say that's okay. That's beyond our purview.
Correct.
Right.
What would you like me to do to the second driveway? Just cover it with grass?
Gary, we're not having public comment at this point anymore, so they're just discussing it amongst themselves. So I'll just explain, to the commission, and they are aware of this, but there's only so much you as a plan commission can do by law. Some of these other things have to go to the zoning board of appeals. Dimensional things typically go to a zoning board of appeals. So even plan commission, if you wanted to give approval for a second driveway, you can't. That's something beyond your purview that has to go to a zoning board of appeals. It's gonna be up to the owner to either bring the property into compliance with that or get a variance. So you are limited today in, are you giving a waiver on the bedrooms? Are you giving a waiver on the parking lot? And that's really all you can do.
No.
And, do we, because where that camper was parked or whatever, is there extra asphalt or something that's, I can't really, I can't zoom in far enough on the GIS.
I think there was.
That
I
would
think-
need to be removed,
Yeah,
on Maple.
I think there's asphalt in the right of way there, and that would be part of bringing the property into compliance. Yeah, because I think that camper, when it was there last year,
Because it looks like it's just an open parking
extra
area.
parking stall is what it
Yes,
looks like, yeah.
and by removing that, then we may not have campers parking there in the future. I mean,
That's beyond the scope of what we're gonna deal with tonight, so. I'm gonna get paid to put on that.
It's gonna be part of bringing the property into
Yeah,
compliance.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
but I'm just bringing it
Sure.
up to make sure that it's in the minutes, that I think that might be an issue. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, on the record.
I have a really weird question, but he has 2 bedrooms in the basement. Does that have access to the outdoors?
It has.
So he did get state approval on those, and there is like another access there. I remember, not this year, but I remember when I first reviewed this property last year for short-term rental, looking at that, and he did have legal access and everything for all of his bedrooms.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely a unique property. Not like all the homes in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good example of a reuse of a property.
Yeah.
He did a good job with.
It's very pretty.
I guess I would be curious to know how many parking spaces are there off of Woodcrest when it's brought back into compliance? If that's 8, great. I guess if it's even more than that, I'd be okay with it in that location, because you're not having the issue that we really see with short-term rentals when they impact other surrounding residential areas. But if 8 is the consensus, I'd be good with that too.
It's double than what we allow.
We advertise 8 bedrooms and 22 guests.
22 guests.
They can have up to 22 guests. That's what they're.
Thank you.
There are 13 beds.
They had.
Are we planning to give the waiver for the 8 beds, 8 stalls, and then you have to let us know how many, total guests would be allowed on the property? 12 is what we would allow right now.
Well, it's an 8,000 square foot house, so it's 16
Gary,
guests
they,
on average.
Gary, they closed off the public comment portion of it.
I know.
That building and that location.
If we're allowing 8 bedrooms, yeah, I'm okay with 22.
Yeah.
I know,
How
but there.
How many parking stalls are we going to allow this gentleman?
I was proposing 1 per bedroom for 8. Gary did not like that idea, because what if somebody else in the area wanted to come over? Where would they park? That weren't actually staying, renting the house. But that's something that certainly can be considered if Plan Commission wants to.
Where he's located, I wouldn't care if he had more, if he could do it off of Woodcrest. But I don't know how big that is. I've seen cars parked in there. And it seemed like a lot, but I don't think there was 8 in there. So they must park off of Maple too.
You know, I've never seen them parked on Maple, but that doesn't mean they haven't, that they don't. It's just
Yeah.
that when I went by.
Yeah. And they can't park on the highway. Well, on Woodcrest.
So 8 beds, 8 stalls, 22, or I'm sorry, 8 beds, 8 stalls, max 22 guests, sign comes down. Everything comes into compliance or gets the variance. Parking limited on to Woodcrest.
22 people, can we, that's, sounds like a hotel.
That's a one.
It is, yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
And it's currently being operated that way, and I'm okay with leaving it at that.
How many parking stalls did you say?
Well,
Jerry?
if we really want to push Woodcrest, if he could have 10 if he can get them all in on Woodcrest. That gives him two spare.
As long, yeah,
I don't have a problem with it.
Woodcrest is safer.
Yeah.
Do you care how many there are, or do you just say it's on Woodcrest only?
Yeah, I do care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
that makes sense.
10 on 10, but they all have to be on Woodcrest?
Yeah.
Okay, so what the commission has discussed so far is, allowing 8 beds. 10 stalls, provided all stalls are accessed off of Woodcrest. 22 guests. The sign comes down. And the property be brought into compliance as far as parking, driveways, asphalt.
So, okay, I'm good with that, but what does that mean about the driveway? Do you want it just covered with grass?
Yep, I'll work with you on that, Gary. You'll have to tear it out and yes, put grass in.
Okay. So no one can park on that side, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm good with that. I think it's a mistake for the village, but because people are gonna find somewhere else to park, but I'm good with that. Thank you for your help.
Okay, so what I've got is that if Mr. Plipnick can bring all the previously mentioned violations into compliance, 8 bedrooms can be utilized, 22 guests will be allowed, and 10 parking stalls will be allowed on site. But those parking stalls must all be located in the parking lot that is located along Woodcrest Drive. Further, the sign must come down and then.
How about the sign must be removed?
Okay, further, the
And
sign,
the structure,
further, what?
the sign and its support.
Okay, the sign and its support must
Yeah.
be removed.
So would we potentially need to add asphalt in at the
Gary?
other?
Gary, stop.
Yeah,
We,
I'm just
we
asking a
are,
question.
stop. We are trying to compose a motion.
Okay, further, the sign and its support must be removed, and the property must also be brought into compliance with respect to driveways and parking.
Driveways parking, yes, because we have setback issues there.
Okay, driveways, parking and setback issues. How about that?
Yeah.
You want to say parking or parking lot?
Just say parking.
Parking, okay. And who wants to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Bell. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by her. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7G, draft Act 59 letter.
So, after we had the, housing study presentation, the Parks, Property and Streets Committee said, you know, we need help on this. I mean, we're having a real issue. Is there anything the state can do to help us? And so they recommended a letter go to the legislators. And, so I, drafted a draft, and I know Denise, you thought it should go to the Plan Commission and the board as well to look at it, and maybe it comes from Plan Commission and the board. Denise did have some tweaks to it, and then I know we did get a letter from, Vivian Nino regarding increased assessments, that was shared with you, so I'm not gonna reread that. So but the letter was revised anyway, so I think that Vivian would, be in agreement with how the letter was revised. I do have a copy of that here. I apologize, Patrice and, Marge, that you don't have a copy of this. It just got done at like 4 o'clock, so.
Well,
I'll
I rewrote parts of it, tweaked it, added something. And I said, whenever you have time, Julie, we can discuss this, and so Julie and I haven't even really discussed it. She wanted to make sure that she brought it here to the board right away.
So, I'll just read it real quick. On behalf of the Sister Bay Village Board and the Village Planning Commission, we are ready to encourage you to draft and support legislation that would allow premier resort area tax communities to limit the number of detached and duplex single-family short-term rental facilities in their communities. In 2023, the village completed a workforce housing study that delved into the issues and opportunities in providing workforce housing. As you can imagine, in a resort community, most jobs are lower-paying service sector jobs. Affordable homes are quickly purchased for use as a short-term. Is this the most recent one, Denise? Yeah.
Yeah.
Affordable homes are quickly purchased for use as a short-term rental, making home ownership impossible for the general workforce. Homes sometimes sell up to twice their listing price and are purchased with cash. Even those employed in healthcare, education, and government, which comprise the second largest employment sector, are unable to purchase a home. According to the workforce housing study, almost half of the homes are single-person households, yet Sister Bay's homeownership rate is the lowest in the county and even lower than the state of Wisconsin, with the exception of those aged 65 to 74. The study reports the rate of owner occupancy has declined over the decade in most age brackets. The transition from owner occupancy to renter households has been particularly dramatic among younger households as starter home prices are increasingly difficult to find in Sister Bay. The purchase of homes for use as a short-term rental has resulted in soaring home prices, making the village's cost-burdened employees unable to purchase a home. This has also had a detrimental effect on the monthly rent for apartments. We have had residents who rent talk to us about multiple monthly rate increases per year. Almost 60% of all resident renters are cost burdened. Rent at one time was the lowest in the county, but is now the highest in Door County. Of the total housing units in Sister Bay, 60% are not occupied by full-time residents. 45% are second homes and 15% are short-term rentals. Interestingly, the number of second homes has declined over the past decade, while short-term rentals grew precipitously. The number of short-term rentals grew to over 300 since the state's adoption of Act 59, which prohibits a municipality of denying the use of a single-family residence as a short-term rental. In Sister Bay, the number of short-term rentals outpaced nearly 2.5 times the number of renter-occupied units. Typically, that means apartments in Sister Bay. Short-term rental units have financially burdened our community, resulting in added staff and the purchase of 56 acres for municipal sponsored housing, of which we now must install sewer, water, roads, and build homes. This is putting additional stress on our citizens as property taxes are increased to fund this problem. Our businesses are also struggling to find enough workers to fill their positions. Without having housing available, they cannot attract a workforce from other areas. We have already seen businesses close 1 or 2 days a week simply because they do not have enough staff. We cannot stand by and watch our community deteriorate into a village that is a bedroom community as our shops and services disappear. In addition, in other Door County communities, which have taken an aggressive approach to limiting the short stays, they have encountered lawsuits adding to their litigation costs. And longtime residents, tired of the rotation of guests in their once quiet neighborhoods, are leaving the community, taking with them the foundation for neighborhood relations and volunteer and philanthropic opportunities. The increase in short-term rentals in Wisconsin has even strained state resources, making the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection unable to perform necessary state inspections required for a state license. The Village of Sister Bay understands the tax revenue generated by legally licensed facilities. And in communities where housing is not as in demand as a resort area, it has proven to supplement incomes. However, in premier resort areas, the cost of short-term rentals have outpaced the tax revenue. We encourage you to draft and support legislation allowing a premier resort area, there are 8 in the state, to limit the number of detached single-family and duplex short-term rentals. Lastly, in 1999, Wisconsin enacted legislation requiring communities to provide a framework for the development, adoption, implementation, update, and amendment of comprehensive plans known as SMART growth. Despite the hours and dollars invested in planning one's community, Act 59 has stripped a community of their right to properly plan for their municipality. The state requires a governing body to implement their plan consistent with their plan. Yet the state has inadvertently stripped away one's required ability to plan for their community. We got a problem there, people. We encourage you to help restore our ability to regulate business, especially in our residential areas. So we got a little duplication in that back paragraph that we got.
We must have both been tired by the time we got to the end of it and didn't see that.
Or I accepted twice or something
Oh,
like that.
Okay. So do you think that there's a topic that we miss drawing attention to in this letter?
Well, when you say restrict the number, are you waiting for them to tell you?
No.
The amount?
No.
Do you have anything in mind?
No.
I mean, those are the things that I put. Areas, numbers. I mean, if I had my wish, it would all be in a business district and it wouldn't touch a residential neighbor. But we know that the damage is done and it's gonna be hard to go back. I wish we could contact somebody in the government and say, we've got 5,000 signatures, we want to try and repeal this bill.
Well, that's not what we're doing today.
I know.
So in any of the details, I mean, that's so far off from what we're asking.
Want just to consider it and throw it out there so they at least think about it.
I do think that's the next step, that's logic. So if they would pass legislation, then comes that additional battle of each community is gonna have to decide what is the cap, how much is too much. And that's gonna be controversial because we've discussed it before. And there was a lot of controversy on it.
I think if we put that in here, this is a big uphill battle going in the state. I mean, I've talked to the representatives about it and they don't want to touch it.
It just
It's
amazes me that they don't concern themselves with how it affects school districts like in Green Bay. They've been talking about the schools are majorly being affected by this.
Yeah.
Ours will be eventually too.
Well, no,
Because
because it's all Gibraltar.
So I guess what I'm saying though is like, when you carve it out and you have to make it more specific, which by making it the premier resort tax area, we make it feasible for them to actually grow a pair and support it.
is Sister Bay the only one that's premier up here?
Ephraim.
Ephraim is too, okay.
The Dells, Eagle River.
Minocqua is too, isn't it?
Elkhorn,
Yeah.
Elkhorn, I think.
Milwaukee. Is it Milwaukee? I can't.
I look at all of them every month when I pay my Pratt, but
Yeah.
that's all that I can kind of.
So I think leaving it open, I think that if we're more likely to get attention and have a conversation started with
Yeah,
it, by
so
not
it's
saying this
more
is exactly
general.
what we want.
And there are other areas in the state that are talking as well. There was one area that had said, hey, Sister Bay, if we propose this, would you sign on? And you know, my response was, I can't speak on behalf of my village, we'd have to see what you propose. So, I think people are getting tired and it's very clear the state will not let us do anything. And a lot of places don't want to do anything because they're getting revenue from it. But it is those places like us, I think, that are definitely getting inundated and have lost all control.
What do we as residents get from all of this? Not the
Headache.
letter, but I mean,
From the legislation,
what do we get? Do we get some sort of a tax rebate? No. We have higher prices at the restaurants, higher prices at wherever you wait longer and that kind of thing. It's like the year-round residents have to sit here and support the community 12 months out of the year as these vacation homes supplement someone's social security or their retirement down the road. I am so sick of hearing that. It just, we worked our butts off and saved every penny we could, paid off our house in Kenosha early because that was priority for us. Pay it off so we're debt free and then we save to move here. And when I hear these young kids say, well, if I don't have somebody renting my home, then I can't afford to pay for the house. Wow, that's a novel idea. Let's have a GoFundMe and we can all get our own retirement home.
now I will say that they do pay room tax. So
Yes, they
there
do.
is that.
Yes.
You know, that there's the room tax. The question always is the cost of providing services now outpassing the room tax?
And where does the room tax go? Just to the village or,
We get 30% of it.
and then it is used for what? Infrastructure?
Infrastructure. It does offset costs and I think in the budget, it was 170, 180 some
That
thousand.
sounds about right. We give some of it to SBAA, some for infrastructure.
Isn't the Mill Road thing being paid by that?
I don't know if that's Pratt or,
Some of it. I think some of it is.
Okay.
So
I think it's an excellent letter. I think we should move it on.
I agree.
I mean, the point that I think really needs to be hit home is that the state legislature just thought at the time that it just really wouldn't make any impact, or they just simply didn't care, as we find out with most politicians currently. And what's frustrating is that what is going to be Sister Bay's tipping point when people can literally, if businesses are already closing 1 or 2 days a week because they don't have enough staff in the height of the season. And if anything gets any worse and we can't attract outside workforce because there's no housing, mom and pops get to retirement age. Can they sell their business?
Yeah.
Who's gonna buy it? Who's going to work there? What do we lose as a whole community because of the housing issue? And then on top of that, we, the village, have bought property, want to put in this infrastructure, want to figure out a way to build homes, which in turn costs our community, every taxpayer, more money to try to save our community when no one's paying attention or cares at the legislative state. I mean, it, to a certain degree, I think it's a really vicious circle. Yeah.
I think the plan commission should sign this letter. It's good. It covers most of the points. It does what, it's a beginning. Let's try it. Let's do it.
I would like to put every plan commission member's name on the letter, if that's all right with everyone.
Yep. Do
Fine
it.
with me. Grand.
Okay. All right.
And forward it to the board? Or
Sure.
what do we do with it?
Let
I
them know
don't
we're
know
behind it.
how the board will feel about it, but if they don't want to endorse it, it will come from the plan commission.
Well, we're the ones that deal with it first anyway, all these problems.
I would suspect there might be a couple of changes at the board level, but having two separate letters coming from two different bodies isn't a bad thing. If they're not identical, that's not actually a bad thing either.
That's true. Well, right, and I think we still have to tweak a few things here, and Julie and I have to go through. I still have a couple of questions.
Do
So,
we need a motion for this? Cause I trust you to make the edits on there to make the.
yeah, I think it on the record would be great.
Yeah, I think you need a motion.
I move we send this letter.
Second,
Motion by Gretzmacher, second by Champeau. All those in favor respond with an eye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you all very much.
Okay. So do you want your motion to say that the plan commission approves the sending of the letter that was read at this meeting?
With,
Yes. Do you want it referred to the board
Yeah.
also? Yes. But you're gonna send a separate letter.
well, maybe Nate will suggest certain different things at the board or whatever, and we'll change that one slightly, and then the board could sign that one.
Okay, so I'll make the motion, say that the plan commission approves the sending of the letter that was reviewed at this meeting. As amended by Schmelzer and Bertle.
Yep.
Okay. And Bertle. And also requests that a related referral be made to the village board. Sure. Okay.
Okay, 7H, staff report.
Okay, so we won the appeal against, Door Hotel. So, Chris has gotten a hold of me and he has a company coming out there to bring the sign into compliance on Friday. He told me that last week, so we know it's going to be brought into compliance, so. The 29th, I think, is the deadline, or is his day that they're showing up. Code enforcement officer, as you know, the board approved a code enforcement officer. We did run a job ad. It runs through March. We've run it for a month and I think we have one applicant. Housing, the board did agree to establish a housing committee, so if anyone's interested in that, please contact the village clerk or see me. B2 ordinance, this is one that Patrice has mentioned to me several times. Am I gonna do anything with it? So I just want to get your thoughts. So the B2 triangle is kind of getting run down. It's supposed to be a transition area, but it actually allows fewer uses than either commercial area. So the thought was, would we entertain an overlay that if you want to do certain things in there, you're allowed to do them as long as you restore it to its historic nature or build or remodel. So it looks like it is the turn of the century, 1890 to 1920 building. New thing can make it a walkable community, so it looks like a historic district.
I have no problem with an overlay district. And I thought it was when Patrice brought this up, I liked the idea very much. With everything else that's going on right now, I just don't know that now is the right time to dive in to creating that document and amending the code with a whole new thing. You all might feel different.
I think it's worth a good conversation because it is something we'd want to at least get in our smart growth plan. And then, of course, when you implement that plan is when you look at changing codes and you could put it in. I do know we do have one of the larger properties in that area has been holding off on coming in and with plans saying, what will the plan commission do? Will they allow us to do anything with this property? But
And
yeah, I
Chad
think
Kadako, we also got a separate email from Chad. Did everybody
Yep.
get to
Yeah.
read?
I'd like to say I applaud Chad for actually putting all of his thoughts into words and sending it to us, because
I
I know
thought
you've
it-
heard that, and I've heard that for
Right.
years.
Right, and never received it. I thought it was well-written, thought-provoking. It made me think about some things from a different perspective, which was good. So if we wanna put it on the agenda just to kind of talk about in its general terms as an overlay, that's fine, but I don't know if right now is the time to be spearheading those
Sure.
kind of deep conversations on what that zoning actually looks like.
I will caution everyone about holding off on this because time is getting away. People are going to be buying property and turning into whatever before this historical district canopy is created. I mean, I think we need to put in get the ball rolling in some form before we lose any more historical buildings in the district down there.
Well, I don't know that we could stop somebody if they own the property.
We couldn't stop somebody from selling it, but what you could do is have an ordinance that says, okay, this is what you're allowed in B2. If you want to do this, these are the standards. It's got to be built or remodeled to a historic preservation.
Exactly. Yeah.
How's that gonna fit in with that giant condo store thing across from the beach?
Well, that's on the end of the triangle. Yeah, that's there.
I mean, it doesn't fit.
Nope, doesn't fit. And I think that's Patrice's point is. So I have two properties that I know want to do something. So one is a big one that is looking at rebuilding it. Actually take it back. There's a third one that has. talked
And
about-
also the Goki thing,
Yeah,
if that ever happens,
It is.
is that part of that?
Goki
Triangle?
would be, no, so the triangle. It would have been nice to have that, but the triangle would start, I think, Mill or whatever we decide. And run over to Bluffside. So what I take in, what I'm hearing is, yeah, let's see what it would look like and give it some thought, just not right now. We're not in an emergency hurry, but work on it as you have time and we'll talk about it and see how it goes.
I agree.
All right. And then downtown parking review, I just had some ideas down here. So we said we were gonna look at downtown parking over the winter. I actually several months ago went through and looked at all the downtown properties, how much they were required to have, how much they were deficit. Denise had given me some information on that as well.
But that was just last month, right?
Yeah, it's, a lot of it was what was already in there. Anyways, and my initial thought is you're never gonna get people to provide customer parking on site. And with all the trends about not providing parking, maybe we look at making sure they can just provide the employee parking on site. So I just want to introduce that to you because I'm gonna put something together and bring it back to you to consider. I guess if there's some hard feeling like absolutely not. we might-
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not change it.
No, we need changes made. There's no doubt. But to not require anything, I think we need to have that conversation and see how we all feel about that before you start putting something together, proposing that with specifics.
Yeah, so I'll bring in the staff report I have, which shows the data, which I have started for next month. It shows the data and it shows barely any, the majority of your businesses are not able to provide customer parking at all. And so I think we, let's have a conversation on that.
Can I bring up my spreadsheets then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've still got them.
Yeah, I think that's the one I've been working on, but I do have Denise's to double check all that. Okay, so that's what I had for staff
So
report.
this is what I have. So the village board gets the municipality monthly magazine. This month, housing and land use. So not only do I want you to search for that New York Times article about Paris that I mentioned earlier and read that, I'd like the rest of the planning commission, can somebody scan this? Sure. The articles and send it out, or paper copies, whichever any particular person prefers.
One person likes paper.
Ron likes paper.
I like
I like paper. Marge likes paper.
I
Nate
like
might
to-
be in a minority here.
Yeah.
So,
I like them
Deliver my
standing.
paper. Nate, you can deliver my paper.
You never let me come over, Marge.
You
You're
can
always-
come
it's
over,
always a
Nate,
bad
with
time.
my paper.
Last 4 times, Marge.
Okay.
I also have notes. I know Nate and I've talked a couple times about just some random thoughts I had on housing. I'll send that out with that as well. Just send you stuff to read, right? Since it's still snowing, stay indoors.
Yeah, nothing more fun than reading.
I thought that housing article was really good though.
yeah. Well, unfortunately though, I need to send an email to Kurt. How do you pronounce his last name again? Wazins? Who is it? From the league, Kurt W.
Rapinski?
Yeah, whatever.
that's it.
Because he talks about, allowing ADUs, and I know that Nate has talked about that also, but he, out of anybody, should know that with Act 59, you do that and it can immediately become a short-term rental. And so you've gained nothing but more congestion, and problems and issues with the sewer subject. Want to send him an email about that and say, what do you suggest now? Because that was, I really disagreed with his point on doing that, when no one can, govern than that ADU.
Can't we put, can't we require a deed restriction to permit an ADU?
Yeah. So one of the things.
But we can talk about that.
Yeah.
when we get to it, but
Maybe next month?
maybe. Well, you were supposed to get Julie a bunch of information.
On open space, Nate, did you ever
No.
go through all those? Because that one I'd like to
Okay.
bring back.
Excuse me.
Last-
Thank you.
And then I just forgot what time it was.
I saw.
8:19, is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Motion by Gretzmacher,
Second,
second by Campo, all those in favor respond with an eye.
I,
Our seller.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you, Denise.
20 minutes off,
The whole,
I'm shooting for 8.
so why isn't that?
Well, that's not so bad.
It is private, so to enforce that deed restriction. Private.
Bye.
Yeah.
Night, everybody.
Sure, motion. Sign Gary and-